Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm sorry I did not upload anything for a month, but from this video onwards, we are going back in the game. So hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for the latest videos. In this video, we will discuss which tablet is best for you, for your needs, and after watching this video, you will be crystal clear on which tablet you should buy. The iPad Air or the iPad Pro. As from the title, you already know, and as from this tablet right here, that I have an iPad Pro. I will tell you all the reasons why I bought iPad Pro and why you should too. The short answer to this is buy the iPad Pro if you want to do intensive editing, intensive video editing, intensive photo editing, or 3D design, or AR applications, or precise AR applications. Then buy an iPad Pro. If you want to do basic editing, basic video, photo editing, 3D modeling, and even AR applications, then buy an iPad Air. Because all the iPads and iOS devices now have AR kit, so any iOS device can use AR applications. Not only the iPad Pro, which has a Lidar sensor, which is just there to make it more precise. That's why I said if you are looking for precision, then go with the iPad Pro. And if you want to do simple browsing, watching movies, you want a good display, you just want a tablet experience, then I think Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 would be a better option. But if you want an iPad OS and Apple iOS ecosystem, all those things, then iPad Air is a good choice for you. Now, let's get into the rest of the video and talk about the details. The first point is pricing and storage. Now I kept both of these together because they go hand in hand, and secondly, it is one of the most crucial points you should keep in mind before buying any tablet. And for any video editors out there, make sure to watch at least this point till the end because it is really crucial for you. So iPad Air starts at $599 for 64GB variant and $749 for 256GB variant. Now 64GB is very less for even a smartphone, so I would not recommend you to go with 64GB for any sort of application. Now here comes the tricky part. iPad Pro starts at $799 for 128GB. In terms of price point, there is only $50 difference between the two, except that in the Air you have 128GB extra, that is 256GB in total. As both of the iPad have C-type connection, you won't have any problem connecting an external SSD like this one, and this thing changes the game. Now 64GB will not be enough for any kind of purposes, even if you get a SSD like this one, because you will need to download a lot of apps and they will take a lot of storage. Photos will take a lot of storage and you will easily eat up at least 50GBs. So I would not recommend you to buy 64GB one, but 128GB one is still a good spot. 4 years ago, I bought a 128GB MacBook Pro for video editing, photo editing, and for iOS app development. Now anyone who is watching this video and does any of these three things will know that I am stupid. But with an external SSD like this one, I can do photo editing, video editing, app development, anything through the SSD. I don't have to use my internal storage for any of these tasks because it is stored right here in the SSD and I can access it without copying it in my laptop. Now, this thing kind of works with the iPad, but there is a catch. You can't edit through the SSD on an iPad. You have to first copy the files to the iPad and then you can edit them. So don't buy the 64GB version no matter what, but 128GB version you can still use it because iPad cannot do a lot of editing tasks. Like I can't make any of my videos through iPad except for this one. This one is just talking on the camera, so I can basically edit it, crop it, and it won't be a problem. But the kind of videos I make on this channel cannot be edited on an iPad. You can look at my videos and you will realize why is that. So as I told you earlier, 128GB is a sweet spot for me. I don't need so many apps that it covers all of my 128GB or even my 64GB. I only need 40GBs for my applications. The rest of the storage goes to all the files, all the editing and all those things. That's why 128GB is a sweet spot for me. But if you're looking to download a lot of games, a lot of applications, you want movies and all those things downloaded in your iPad, then a 256GB or 512GB version would be better. Then if you're not a pro user, you can think about a 256GB version iPad Air. Now iPad Pro even offers a 1TB option, but that is $500 costlier than the 128GB one. And you can buy this 1TB SSD, which is very fast. You can edit anything off of it, at least on a laptop. This only costs around $150. You can connect it to your iPad, Android phone, Mac, wherever you want. So for my applications, it doesn't make sense for me to buy a more expensive device just for more storage. And just for $50 more, I'm getting that pro performance for all my editing tasks and for all my 3D modeling, AR applications and all those tasks. Now let's talk about performance. For any tasks like opening up apps, using Safari, using Instagram, all those tasks will be faster on the iPad Air. And this is because of the architecture of the iPad Air processor. Because it is made for average consumers. On the other hand, iPad Pro will be a little slower in all these tasks, but it will be able to handle all the extensive tasks such as video editing, photo editing, and all these tasks that I have already mentioned hundreds of times now. Because of its architecture, it has an 8-core processor, a more powerful neural chip, a more powerful GPU, because it is made for these tasks. Now let's talk about cameras, Lidar and AR. For anyone with a good phone, camera on an iPad won't matter to you because you're not going to take this big iPad to take photos when you can use a better camera on a phone. So I'm not going to talk much about the camera. If you want to look at the specs, here they are. If you're going to buy iPhone 12 Pro, then you already will have LiDAR sensor in your phone. So you don't have to worry about LiDAR on an iPad. But like me, if you're not going to buy iPhone 12, then you may want to use LiDAR sensor. And there are few reasons why. If you're an app developer, then I think you should have an iPad with LiDAR if you're not going to buy an iPhone. And this is because AR is going to be the future. We all know that Apple is going to release Apple glasses, and in 2 years we will see the shift from normal user interface to AR user interface. So if you're a developer, you can start developing AR apps right now, like I am doing right now. So when AR comes out, you're ready, you're prepared for the future. But if you're an average consumer and don't care about creating applications and all that sort of stuff, LiDAR shouldn't matter to you. If you want to take measurements and all those things or do any architectural work, then LiDAR will give you more precision, and you should get a LiDAR if you're working professionally as an architecture. But if you want to just play games and all those things, then iPad Air or any iOS device will be good enough for you, because all the iOS devices now have AR kit and they all work almost in the same. Now let's talk about Touch ID and Face ID. I have seen a lot of YouTubers giving this one to iPad Air because iPad Pro uses Face ID, and their argument is that you're wearing a mask, so Touch ID will be more convenient. But how many of you are going outside your home right now? I mean, I'm not going outside because of quarantine, and anyways I don't use my iPad Pro outside that much. I mean, I haven't used it till now. And in my home, I don't wear masks. I don't know anyone who wears masks in their home. So according to me, that Touch ID and Face ID argument is not fair. In terms of convenience, Face ID makes a lot of my tasks jiffy for me. At every step, iPad keeps asking for your password, whether it be downloading an app, unlocking it of course, or putting in a password in some application, and Face ID makes it effortless. You just click there and the Face ID thing will pop up and then it will go away, and then your app will be signed in or downloaded or whatever. But in the case of Touch ID, you will consciously have to make a decision and put a finger there and it will work. So I mean, it's not a big deal, but I just wanted to put it out there. Now let's talk about display. iPad Air and iPad Pro Both have liquid retina display, but iPad Pro has more pixels. That is, it has more resolution. If we look at the refresh rate, iPad Air has 60 Hz refresh rate, whereas iPad Pro can go up to 120 Hz refresh rate. Now, I have seen a lot of people making fuss about it. Of course, iPad Pro has a better display and better refresh rate, but it doesn't mean iPad Air doesn't have a good display. Also, iPad Pro doesn't always use its 120 Hz refresh rate, but it fluctuates between 24 Hz to 120 Hz refresh rate to save the battery. That's because 120 Hz takes a lot of battery. You have to refresh the screen 120 times per second, and that is very taxing for the battery. So to optimize the battery, iPad automatically reduces the refresh rate to up to 24 Hz. And this happens for those applications where you don't need 120 Hz display. So it is always fluctuating between 24 Hz to 120 Hz depending on what app you're using, and do you really need that 120 Hz display. So let's wrap it up. I would recommend you to buy an iPad Pro if you're a student or anyone who is creative, who wants to be creative, or who has a lot of free time basically. Because when you have an iPad Pro, you would want to draw or you would want to use photo editing and all those apps, because it's actually fun to do it. And if you decide to make it a hobby, then you will probably need that performance which iPad Pro provides and Air may not provide. I mean, Air still can do all those tasks which iPad Pro can do, but Pro has a little more performance advantage because of its architecture, as I said earlier. So in the long run, if you're not going to buy an iPad for another 2 to 3 years, a Pro will be a better option because you will not hit a roadblock and won't be limited by the technology. But wait, if you're thinking of buying Pro, then you might want to wait for some time, because there are a lot of rumors that Apple is going to release a new iPad Pro in the March or May next year. And if they do so, it will obviously have a better display, better performance, and probably have a A14 chip, which will give you a better performance on basic tasks such as browsing and all those things like iPad Air, probably better than iPad Air, and this better performance in intensive tasks. So if you can wait for some time, wait 6 months. But if you can't wait like me, then buy an iPad Pro right now. This is it guys. I hope you found the video helpful, and thank you so much for watching.